Hello and welcome to Mantorp Park, one of a few Dragracing events in Sweden this year. And in this video I'm gonna focus on the 4-5 cylinder turbo cars and some electrical vehicles. And as usual, I focus on filming in the pits, on the cars and engines and all technical, and a little bit on the track. There will be another video from this event at Mantorp Park Drag Revival where I focus more on the V8s. We have an old Volvo 140. It's the Kalmar Volvo that have been racing for many years in Sweden. This is the third version of this car with this chromoly chassis. It has a 5-cylinder engine here from the front-wheel drive Volvos, and aluminum block. It's a diesel block, and it still have the water inside of the engine. See the big radiator here, and the block is still holding up. We have the 82mm turbo here. And it makes about 1300 horsepower at the rear wheels. Exhaust here, made by Sweden Exhaust. Mechanical fuel pump and running methanol. Swedish Autoverdi oil pump there. With oil tank and fuel tank in the front. We have the fire extinguisher system, very nice one, fog maker I think, it's a Swedish brand, that one as well. Liberty gearbox inside here. Some communication radio here, so the driver can speak with the ground crew. To this year they have installed the fuel tech, engine management there, so they can log the run. Actually they run the quarter mile. This weekend it is the 8th mile. Still the stock taillights. Off switch voltage gauge there. Rear fenders here, arches, possible to detach. Called the Team Extreme. Exhaust temp sensors. Makes a great sound, this 5-cylinder engine. Very large intercooler. Checking the logs between the runs. Try to do some improvements. Clear front here. Here is the Hemi 4-banger that I showed you in a video from last year in Tierp. And in this video I will show them running on the drag strip. They had some problem last year, so no footage from the drag strip. And they actually did a very good pass of 4:01 I think on the 8th mile. The Liberty gearbox is out here for some service for tomorrow's elimination. Volvo 740 is always a favorite of mine. It has the 16-valve engine that was available in the 740. Puts out about 950,000 horsepower. A lot of nice fabrication here. Billet intake flange here with the dual injectors per runner. We have a Peterson dry sump pump here with a fuel pump, mechanical one, mounted in the back. The big air motive regulator there. Dual blow-off valves and the big intercooler. A lot of welds here. Polished, looking good. Air dry sump pump. It has, even though it has the mechanical fuel pump there, there's an electrical fuel pump in the front here. Garrett turbo. Chassis looking really clean and nice. They have the Liberty gearbox, and they're adjusting the clutch here between the runs. It's a little bit tricky if not used to this kind of clutch. The ECUs here are the golden boxes, the Motec M800 and the CDI ignition box there. Looking comfy in the driver's seat, and a lot of room in this car compared to many other drag cars that are tight. So the Volvo 740, it's a big car. And you can see that it's still a steel body. Even though it's in the front here, the front firewall is rebuilt completely and the floor is cut out. It has the carbon fiber flooring there. Dragracing wing, looking cool. Stock lights a little bit modified for the battery charger there, and some wheelie bars. This white kind of paint is so you can see on the ground after run if these have been into the ground or not. Fat tires there. Methanol fuel. Also, of course, running in the 4 to 6 cylinder category. Racing is finished for the day, and the gearbox is out to check the condition. Gearbox apart here, and the cool design here with the 3 shafts.
Hoppas jag att ni har där ute nu. Han fyller upp. Men ändå någonting som vi får njuta av emellanåt.
This is the TCX, currently the world's fastest electric door slammer car. It's built on SFI 25.1 tube chassis, and then with a homemade fiberglass body on it. The fiberglass body is made on top of a British kit car called an Eagle SS. The entire body weighs 58 kilograms. Up here in the front, we've got the 2 motors, which comes from electric forklifts. Originally they were made for around 10 horsepower and 80 volts. Now we're running them at 400 volts and pushing around 800 horsepower from each motor. The green stuff here are the 2 controllers that controls the voltage and the amps for the motors. And then we've got one of our battery boxes here up front. We've got 4 battery boxes in total. One here that consists of 200 volts, and then inside the car we've got another one, an aluminum box, where we have 2 boxes with 400 volts in them, or with 200 volts in each box. And then over here between the wheels we've got the last box with 200 volts. So we run 2 parallel systems with 400 volts, so 400 volts to each motor, and up to 2500 amps per motor.
And no cooling needed for the batteries?
No, we don't have any active cooling of the batteries. They get a bit hot during a run, but it's just passive cooling. It's an American-built motor controller called Oscilla 2K. Well, it's one of the best controllers that you can buy from money. There are a couple of controllers that are more powerful, but they are really expensive. These are also quite expensive. They cost around 40,000 Danish kroner. And the motors, it's not fancy brushless motors or anything. It's just old school serious motors from forklifts, and what you get in a starter motor from an old car or something like that. We usually do an overhaul of them in the winter time, take them out and take them apart and do some cleaning of the commutators and brushes, but no rebuilds or anything on the motors. And the reason why we can do that is because they are quite big, and we only push them for like 5 to 10 seconds. We run 800 horsepower through our motors, and they were built for 10 horsepower, so that's an factor 80.
What kind of batteries?
They are lithium cobalt cells, like you would get in a model car or an RC helicopter or something like that. This is one of the battery cells. This is one is discharged, so it's not dangerous. These vehicles here are the only vehicles in the world that has these specific cells in them. They're made specifically for us. Yeah, they're all flat, and normally when you get these cells for an RC plane, they will have the terminals come out, you know, a positive terminal here and a negative terminal here, and then they'll only be like this wide. But we've asked the supplier to make them, you know, really wide, and then put them in each end.
Okay, yeah.
So that we will have a better chance to dissipate the heat, because it's the terminals that gets really, really hot during a run. And then when you have the wider terminal, it has a better connection down into the internal of the cells, and then it can dissipate the heat. The total weight of the car with Glenn in it is around 980 kilograms. So the car is, what, 880 or something like that. The best time with this car actually was a few years ago, where we did a 798 on a quarter mile, and then we've done a 482 on an 8 mile. With a speed of 230 on the 8 and 270 on the quarter mile. You know, the bottleneck right now is the controllers. The battery pack is capable of doing 1700 horsepower, but the controllers can't quite keep up. So if we tweak them a little bit more, we'll probably be able to do a low 7-second pass when everything is sorted out. Yeah, that's for suspension travel. Everything is, all our data logging is home built. No fancy race tag or anything here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's just some 3D printed stuff and some hall elements like you use on a crank trigger or something. And then a home built 8-channel data logger to see the suspension travel, and we've got also the steering angle, so you can see is it Glenn that's doing some funky business, or is it the car that's acting up?
Rubber belt there?
Yeah, exactly. It's not built of rubber bands, the car, but that's kind of our approach to it.
Yeah.
That we don't want to buy expensive stuff if we can, you know, put something together with shoestring and some 3D printing.
Yeah.
This one is Silver Lightning. It's got basically the same setup as the car with 2 electric motors and 2 controllers and 2 battery packs. It runs a little lower voltage than the car, so it has a little less power than the car, but it should be capable of doing, you know, 1,000, 1,200 horsepower with this setup. And it's built like a top fuel bike or a super twin top fuel bike, with the same size rear tire, same rim and stuff like that. And today we've done a 7.3 second run at 268 kilometers per hour. On that run we actually hit the rev limiter of the bike, so now we've turned that up a bit, and then we hope to do a really low 7-second pass tomorrow. With this bike we're chasing the overall world record for electric vehicles set by Larry Spider-Man McBride in the US some years ago, and that's 6.94 on the quarter mile.
Cooling with
Yeah, we're using an AC to cool down the motors between runs. We abuse them quite a lot. These motors were probably made for 5-8 horsepower or something, and we're running at least 600 or 700 horsepower on each motor, so they get pretty hot. That's also from an electric forklift, but they are much smaller than the car motor. On the car motor we've got a lot of iron and a lot of copper to take up the heat soak, but these only weigh, you know, 40 kilograms each or so we have a lot less mass to take up the heat. And then the last bike was, you know, just sort of a side product Glenn did a few winters back. It's a Suzuki Hayabusa that's converted to electric, also with an old forklift motor, and then an old battery pack from the other bike. That's running 200 volts, capable of producing roughly 200 horsepower and then around 800 Newton meters. And the entire bike weighs just 150 kilograms.
How long is the charge time before you can go out there again?
It only needs about 20 minutes to charge any of the vehicles. So it's not the charge time that's our You know, that's the problem. It's the cooling of motors and everything. Yeah, usually we need, you know, an hour and a half turnaround time to cool everything down. Because actually the batteries gets better the hotter they get, up to a certain point where they will destroy themselves. But in the morning when we start and they are like 20 degrees, that could cost us a few tenths on the quarter mile. And then when they get 40 degrees, we'll have the right performance out of the batteries. And as we usually say, we are really good with electronics, but we are quite bad at drag racing because the car has just been going left and right for the past 2 years.
Vi hade en jublande glad Lennart Olsson här inne. Och bra. Det här är en representant från The True Cousin. Jag vet att han satsade på
Here we have an Oldsmobile. Tobias Johansson also competing in the 4 to 6 cylinder class. And we have the turbo here. I can go back later on and see if the hood is off. Now the hood is off and we have an Saab engine, 2-liter engine. Don't know anything about horsepower or what kind of turbo. It's a Borg-Warner turbo there. I think I've never seen a rear-wheel drive drag car with a Saab engine. A lot of special stuff here. Filter. Get a max ECU in there. Air shifted gearbox. And it was smoking a little bit from the turbo, so maybe the turbo is bad.
Så nöjer jag mig med det.
Nissan Sunny, drag car, 4-wheel drive, big precision turbo, and the 4G63 engine. It looks like a stock head, but the engine block is a billet one. Bullet 4G63. Oh, hi. Looking good, these World Racing wheels on this one. It's not easy to get this small, short 4-wheel drive ones to go straight. I'm trying to do some adjustments. Some strange shocks there. We have two Volvo 240s looking pretty stock with some stickers. These are actually competing in the street week, or was supposed to be competing in the street week that was cancelled this year. I made a video from that event last year. I saw one made 10 low 10 second passes and one 9 second passes. Let's see if we can check them out. The engine here is a Mercedes engine from the 90s, 6-cylinder. I think the engine is all stock except of the connecting rods. Of course, it's a big turbo here installed on it. And home-built intake manifold. And this one, best time today is actually 960. I think it's really good for this kind of Volvo. That's, yeah, looking pretty stock. The owner here, when he bought it, it was actually a 3 going through the car. It was very rusty. Still a little bit of rust or lightning Rear axle here, it's a Ford 8.8 from Ford Explorer. A little bit similar recipe for the other Volvo here. They are running the diesel BMW gearboxes, and it actually broke one of the gearboxes today, so they have replaced it. Racing seats and the 4-door, no back seat. Engine of this one is also the Mercedes. A little bit different kind of intake manifold. New fuel rail and Bosch injectors. 991 I think is the best time of this one today. Brown 240. Isn't it sexy? This one actually boosts out a little bit over 1,000 horsepower out of this. 3.2 liter engine, 950 horsepower in a 242. It's a 2.8 liter engine in that one.